Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So recently on the channel I had a look at the Long and Winding Road, the new version, I say the new version, the newer version, that was initially released in 2003 that had pitch correction on Sir Paul McCartney's vocal, and then in 2013 where they remastered that particular track, and of course the vocal was still pitch corrected at that point. Now, I did receive some messages, and I think most of the messages were saying about how pitch correction shouldn't have been applied to Sir Paul McCartney's voice, and other messages asking me, well, can you get rid of the pitch correction so that the stripped back version of the song is actually stripped back? Now, my answer to those emails has been that unfortunately I don't own the song, and I don't have the rights in order to put the original vocal to the remastered instrumentation. So I can't release my own mix of this, or how I think it possibly should have sounded with a stripped back version of this particular song. But what I can do is an analysis video where I transform the audio into pitch lines on screen to analyse Sir Paul McCartney's voice. Basically, after all of that, all it means is we have Sir Paul McCartney's original unedited vocal set to, or singing over the top of, the stripped back instrumentation. So I'm just going to have to play tiny bits of this, unfortunately. I mean, maybe you guys can message the official channel and say, look, we want a version that is actually stripped back and is actually Sir Paul McCartney's voice without having more processing added to it in the form of pitch correction. But let's have a listen to this. The long and winding road. So, I mean, you can hear that it is so exact, and it's literally like the long and winding road, and everything, well, it is calibrated to A440, so it just sounds like that, a little bit bland. So this is unedited vocal with, now obviously my version, stripped back instrumentation. The long and winding road. So now we get to hear Sir Paul's voice just going where it went, and with this stripped back instrumentation. Listen again. The long and winding road. I mean, to me, it is absolute night and day. It just sounds great with the stripped back accompaniment. So it's a real shame, in my opinion, that they applied pitch correction. Let's listen again. This is, my version. At least to your door. I mean, it is so less offensive to the ear just because of where Sir Paul's voice is sitting. Will never disappear. And you can see with the variation in pitch that we get, and this disappear, we just kind of went a little bit sharp and then came down. So we spent a lot of time between the B3 and the C4. Let's listen on. I don't want this to get blocked, this video, but I've seen that road before. So it really does work. I think, personally, that this works. It really does sound like just a guy. I know there's more going on, but just a guy sat at a piano singing. It always leads me here. And just that slight change in phrasing as well. Lead me to your door. The wild and windy night that the rain. Okay, right, so just got to stop listening to it. But I mean, what I have done here, I haven't done a lot because I did this analysis video recently. It means that I still have all the files, and just swapping things out and swapping things back in and adjusting timing. This is the other thing, that we did have different tempos, but it's really easy to fix that kind of thing. So that's what I've done. So this is why the original vocal with the stripped back instrumentation now works. And I mean, I will admit that I have been approached to do this kind of thing before, not for the Beatles, but for other very well-known artists from the 60s and the 70s wanting me to, I mean, more specifically, pitch correct performances so that particular performances can be released because they weren't maybe in a condition to be released how they were. But that's not something that I do. I don't go through applying pitch correction to performances. And yeah, given what I do on the channel, it would be a bit of a contradiction for me to even contemplate doing that in the first place. For me, I'm all about this kind of approach that I'm doing in this video, where you keep everything as authentic as you can. Washed away. And, for example, if the vocal drifts flat of the C4 there, don't worry about it, listen to it, see how it sounds. Has left a pool of tears. I mean, it's great because this vocal takes on now a totally different personality because it's so stripped back. The vocal in the other version, almost kind of don't want to listen to this next one, but I will. That leads to your door. I mean, it is so much to your door. It's been so flattened out. Now, to address some other comments that I've had from people on the channel where somebody said, oh, I mean, first of all, somebody said, I'm a producer and I can categorically state that there's no way that you can prove pitch correction or auto-tune is used on a vocal unless you're looking at the project and you can see it actually applied as a plugin on the channel. And I think the problem is that recently, maybe with shorts videos, I'm getting people watching my videos that haven't watched my channel for any length of time. And I mean, I think producers should know that you absolutely can tell when something has certainly been auto-tuned and or pitch corrected by looking at pitch data on screen. They should know that digital pitch correction hasn't been around for a very long time. And pre-digital pitch correction, nobody, I mean, maybe they don't know this, nobody sang on these lines. And I'm just trying to think that A440 has been standard tuning for probably, what, 70 years, something like that. Did it come in? I think in and around the mid-1950s, even though it was being used before then. So taking it as the mid-1950s to late 1950s maybe, that everything was now being tuned to A440, meaning singers from the late 1950s and 1960s theoretically should now be singing on these lines all the time because all of the instrumentation is now being tuned to that as standard. Guess what? We've looked at, I mean, thousands of voices, and I've analysed them on the channel, and those include some of the best voices of all time from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and digital pitch correction and auto-tune. Auto-tune came in 1998 with Cher, and everyone became aware of it then. But pitch correction came in 2001, I think, was the first iteration of Melodyne, which is now, I'd say, probably the most popular pitch correction plugin. So that came in the early 2000s. Guess when these voices or singers' voices started appearing on these lines all the time? 2001 and later, or auto-tune 1998. So for people to say that, oh, you can't categorically say that something's been auto-tuned or pitch correction by looking at the pitch on screen, is it just a coincidence that every singer since 1998 using auto-tune and pitch correction since 2001 now just happen to be singing on these lines where for the previous 50 years nobody sang on the lines because the technology didn't exist? Yeah, I mean, it is a shame that there are, well, people that are saying they are professionals and they don't know how it works. They don't know how the human voice works. So I guess if they're saying, oh, there's no way that you can point it out, if they don't know how the human voice works, if they don't know that this is physically impossible, I mean, this isn't because it's a natural voice, but to be on these lines all the time to A440 is physically impossible and no singer's ever done it. Pre-1998, even speeding up tape, slowing down tape, and tuning the vocals that way, even then it still didn't happen because they were using their ears to try and judge it. They're not looking at a graph, whereas now they're looking at a graph. That's why it's on the lines. It is not a coincidence. They're looking at the lines and dragging the note to it. Yeah, don't look at it. Just listen to it. And I was just about to say, let it be. That was no pun intended, but yeah, it's a shame. And again, I can't release this version that I've done, unfortunately, but you know, like I said, message the Beatles official channel or email and say, look, can we please have a stripped back version of this with Sir Paul McCartney's real voice on it that hasn't been edited? We'll listen to a little bit more of this authentic version. Crying for the day. Just to point out that here, again, with really accurate vocalists, they will go over these lines and be on top of these lines. Yeah, maybe once, twice, 3 times in a row at a push, because it's the byproduct of being a great vocalist. But what they will never do is be straight on the line all the time. You always get a reset here. Look at the way that Sir Paul just came down, A sharp 3, perfectly over the line. Actually, no. I say perfectly over the line. I've got to be honest and say, look at the way it's not over the line. We come down and then we maintain flat. But you'll always see this subtle variation in a natural voice and as we go through. Here, you know, this kind of thing, again, being flat of the C4, this is the kind of thing that, especially at the beginning of a phrase, that gets automatically corrected to exactly where the C4 is according to A440 standard pitch equal temperament, and you start to lose all of this. Whereas, let's just have a listen to this. Why leave me standing here? I mean, it's great because you even get the appreciation of where the vocal, the dynamic change. So Paul moved away from the mic. Listen again. Why leave me stand? Why leave me? And he kind of turned away. Why leave me standing here? Standing here. And there's so much in here as well, because standing here, here, he just has this really subtle vibrato in there. But anyway, you can go back and watch that original video again if you want to, because I do play a lot more of the pitch corrected version. But because people were asking me if I could do this and release a version that's just genuinely authentic and stripped back all the way, you know, from top to bottom from a production perspective, I can't do that, but I thought, well, at least we can have a listen to segments of what it might sound like if they were to do this officially. Let me know the way. I mean, I love the fact that this is so imperfect, because that's the whole point of it. Let me know the way. No. Again, just going slightly flat. Way. And slower vibrato. Again, not flattened out. Many times I've been alone. And look at this. Been alone. And just coming down here, we're between notes, but it doesn't matter. That is the video for tonight. Obviously, I've had to do it in tiny sections, and it might still even be the case that this video gets claimed, and I'm hoping it's just claimed, that it isn't blocked. So at least you guys can hear snippets of what I think would be a really cool version of The Long and Winding Road that is just authentically Sir Paul and the stripped back instrumentation. What would be interesting actually would be to know if Sir Paul McCartney told them to pitch correct his voice on the new stripped back version, or whether he was under the impression they were going to do what I've done, which is take the original vocal and, if anything, just, you know, keep that as stripped back as possible, take off a bit of reverb and, you know, just have that like he's sitting at a piano, which is hopefully, and what I think this sounds like now. I don't have Sir Paul's phone number, so I won't be able to ask him. I do find that entertaining when people say in my videos something like that, you know, oh, why don't you ask him whether he gave permission to pitch correct his vocals? Yeah, I don't have a contact book where I can just ring people up, but it would be interesting to know nonetheless. Anyway, thank you guys for requesting that I do this thing that I'm not really allowed to do, so I haven't. I've just played segments of it. I hope you have enjoyed this video. As always, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and keep those suggestions and requests for future videos coming as well. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!